Some of you have, in some places in the world, when people complete healing the wounds of trauma, they are wanting more. And they're wanting more of this same sort of tone, the same earthy feel, the same way these things are developed. And so our advisory council last year also talked about the layers of the onion, and that even going through the healing the wounds of trauma, as wonderful as it is, there are more layers, and it's not all a done deal. And our research that we talked about last year is also proving people improve a lot, but there is still room to continue that healing. And we know this is going to go on until we are with Jesus. So that's enough about why this is. And so this team was this team has been working over the last year on a book called Strength from Weakness.
We've been used to, okay, I'm Charles. We've been very familiar with this particular arc. And I guess some few days ago, someone was raising a concern about the essence of the arc. In our modest reflection, when we were thinking through, because there's going to be a new arc. And so in our modest reflection, we were thinking that issues of trauma and the density of trauma happens at the initial moments. And so as people travel through the journey of the trauma healing, you will find the layers being peeled off gradually. And so that is why when you get to the resilience, you will be able to see a very thin line, assuming that most of the issues that the person started with had died down. Now we are coming up with a new arc, and whether the arc should go below it or, we would have to deliberate on those issues. But then the new arc is also coming up to speak to issues that communities go through. We are going to talk about how we can bring strength into the communities. And so you would also find quite a lot of density from after someone has built a resilience and you have the energy and the strength to go through, you get into the community and you will meet community needs. And so what it means is that you also begin to see a huge density and a lot of activities in the initial moment. And as you also end that particular arc, it also lessens at the end.
Thank you. Yes. So the first book features more the first half of the arc, and this really touches on those things, but also the second half really has more on it. Here are the lessons. The first is wrestling with God and looking at the theological aspects of the grief journey, drawing a lot from the book of Job and other passages in the Bible. The second lesson is on good and evil. And even yesterday, after talk about the military, how does evil get so evil? How do people do these atrocities? How do you do that? And really wanting to really yearn to have good in our lives and feed and nourish good and become good. The third lesson is on generational trauma and blessing. And we've heard a little bit about that, but you know, that first listening question is what happened? And we're now looking in this lesson, not only what happened to me and my trauma, but what happened to my family and their experience. Looking both at the trauma of our family, but also the blessings that we have received from those who have gone before, because we often have both. Then the fourth lesson is on shame, guilt, and honor. This has been asked for forever. The shame and guilt, what is the difference? What are they like? And how do you heal from shame? How do you heal from guilt? So really zeroing in on that. The fifth lesson is using our feelings for good. So becoming even more aware of our feelings, working with them to become more in control of ourselves, not to deny that we have them, but accept them and understand what they're telling us, that we're able to live better with others, and especially that our emotions can help us as we try to draw closer to God. So looking a little bit at Ignatian spirituality at the end of that. The sixth lesson is difficult conversations. What are they? Why do we avoid them? What happens when we avoid them? And how can we have them with a better chance of success? No guarantees they will all be successful, but how can we improve our skills in that area? Seventh is pursuing reconciliation. In lesson 9, in the Healing the Wounds, it's a lot about forgiveness, but it's about the forgiveness that takes part in our hearts. And there's not as much about actually now going to that person and delivering the gift of forgiveness. Or in the case that you really have repented in your heart about something you have done, delivering an apology that is a good apology. So pursuing reconciliation in that way. Meaningful work, looking at the God-given sacredness of work. God gave Adam and Eve work to do, and as human beings, we need work. It gives us voice. We need the ability to affect our environment in some way, be it a job or a ministry or a hobby. So how do you find meaningful work, and meaningful work that is meaningful for you, given your experience, your gifts, your personality, your social location? The last lesson then is on advocating for justice. To really, you come from a position of weakness and suffering, and often God can use that, and you can work on that to help give voice to those who do not have voice, so that they too can be freed and have less trauma. So helping those without a voice to be heard. So those are our lessons, and now?
Yes. My name is Godfrey. I come from Uganda, from Gulu. This material that Harriet has just taken us through was first tested in Gulu. Gulu, as some of you may already know, is an area that is recovering from a devastating war that took over 20 years, with devastating effects on the people that were involved in it. And so people are just coming out of that terrible situation. And Gulu has also been an area where the classic trauma healing material has been extensively used. And so it was thought that this would be a very good idea, a very good area to try this first material. It was done in early February this year. I participated in it as a facilitator, as having been one of the people who contributed to the development of this new material. I was a facilitator, but I was surprised that it also ministered to me, this new material. It ministered to me in a way that I had never thought I would benefit from it, having been one of those who contributed to it. But also, the participants, which were drawn from across denominations, there were Anglicans, there were Catholics, there were Seventh-day Adventists, Baptists, and Pentecostals. So all of these were facilitators in the classic trauma healing material, but also the children's one. And so when they came together and they were taken through this, it was a massive success, because the material resonated so well with the lives of the people, and it also provided some of the answers to the questions that were generated as a result of having gone through the classic material. And so this was really, really a great success for me as a person, but also for the participants who were there. And before it ended, the participants requested that they would want to go out and even try the material, because it spoke volumes into their lives and into their own situations, and they could see that this was going to be very helpful wherever they were working in their denominations and congregations and the rest of it. And so we organized a commissioning service, and we commissioned them to go and try, and we will be waiting to hear how they would, what they would be reporting to us.
Some of you may remember last COP, we had Dorothy Tuft, who talked about the dairy, the Mvuru dairy, which is in Gulu. And this was very important because it's a way of giving useful work to the people who've been affected by the LRA and others. And it was great to see trauma healing in action. And we very much enjoyed the yogurt. It tasted delicious. I highly recommend it. And this was seeing many people who had been captured by the LRA. They'd come out, they didn't know what to do, and they've now been taken into this organization and given decent jobs to do with decent salaries where they can support their families. And we definitely recommend the yogurt.
My name is Justus. I'm from the Bible Society of Uganda. Impact of strength from weakness. You realize life is a journey. So you have walked this journey of healing. You've gone through the core lessons. You've handled your real issues. And hopefully, you've brought your pain to the cross. A door closes, we hope, for your suffering, but a new door opens for your restoration. And then a new journey begins, and as you looked through the lessons with us, strength from weakness, a bit of wrestling with God. How do you forgive somebody who raped you? Quite hard. Difficult conversations in churches, every other time in organizations. Shame, guilt and honor, these are tough issues. And so, these 9 lessons are highly impactful in everyone's life, and they lead us gently, steadily, and surely to resilience. And so, the hope of eternity, not only here on earth, but the hope of eternal life is strengthened through these lessons.
And I want to recognize the role of Angela Hong, who served us from the office here. There's always a lot of work that goes on behind those at the front line. So please, let's give some applause for Angela. Thank you. Absolutely gifted woman. And also Baraka was with us and worked through this with us. So if you have any questions, she was our mental health expert professional on the team and really has helped shape these. So if you have any questions about these lessons, here's some people that might have some answers. And we will be it's available soon. So what the plan is going forward, we are now getting feedback and piloting and getting written response. We will be talking about it at the Advisory Council tomorrow, and I'm getting responses from various ones. If anyone wants to read through it, let me know. We welcome your responses, and also some pilots that are going on. And then towards the fall, sometimes in the fall, we will have our first training session and simultaneously be translating the materials into French and Spanish and Arabic so it can launch, hopefully with God's blessing and a lot of hard work, by January of next year. Thank you very much.